I feel so inadequate here after that wonderful message by Mr. Cobble and speech that was read. I thank you so much for reading that speech, that we can honor our forefathers and the sacrifices that they made. When we first planned this event, I was kind of hoping to get it on July 4th, but it didn't turn out that way. But as I was doing some research, I found out that today, July 2nd, can be considered our true Independence Day. Because 233 years ago, on this day, the Continental Congress resolved to be independent states, free from the tyranny of Europe. John Adams even wrote the following in a letter to his wife after the resolution was passed. This will be the most memorable event in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. Well, he didn't count on the Declaration, which was finally passed 2 days afterwards. But for myself, I'm proud to oblige Mr. Adams by celebrating America's founding today, and the 4th. We've already heard about these men who signed the Declaration. They were farmers, businessmen, lawyers, writers, inventors, doctors, men from many professions and all walks of life. They were united not by social class or wealth, but by a common belief in freedom and liberty, and in the God who gives them to all men. No man doubted the significance of what they were about to do on that day, 233 years ago, July 2nd. No man denied that that moment would go down in history, be it as a success or a failure. These men weren't perfect, but they knew how to do what was right, even though the outcome seemed bleak. They knew that the decisions they made this day were not for themselves, but for their children, their grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And so as they cast their votes, and the tally was unanimous, they began the impossible task. Now let me fast forward to the 21st century, here and now. Things look a little bit different, do they not? We've already talked about how things look different. And just looking back and studying history, I find myself mourning how we have squandered that which our fathers have given us. Out of control government spending, rising taxes, liberties being stripped away one by one. We've already discussed all this. This is why we're here. When did it all happen? How did this start? Some say it's been the policies of the past 50 years, or even the current administration, or the past one. While others will say that it's farther back, 100 years, or even 150 years. But I have a theory. You want to know who the real culprits are? It's you and me. You and I, who would sacrifice long-term consequences for short-term peace and pleasure. You and I, who have lost our passion for truth, freedom, and justice. You and I, who know more about our favorite celebrities' opinions than our own representatives. You and I, who will vote religiously on American Idol, and yet be too busy to show up for city, county, or even state elections. In 1787, when word first got out that a new constitution had been signed, men clamored around the delegates for more information. Mr. Franklin, they called. What sort of government have you given us? Benjamin turned and replied, a republic, if you can keep it. Friends, we have not kept our republic, or at least we have not kept it well. Not at all. And the blame doesn't go to socialist Democrats or those greedy rich Republicans. The blame lies squarely on our shoulders. We have been given a sacred trust and have squandered it. So the question is, what do we do about it? Well, I think that this rally is a great place to start. The Greeneville Teaparty Group isn't just about protesting high taxes, though that is one of our main focuses. Our vision is much more broad and comprehensive, including issues such as the right to bear arms, personal responsibility, state sovereignty, and more. What it lies down to is this: we are ultimately about returning to the constitutional liberties and limited government given to us by our forefathers. Will anyone join us? The task is impossible, critics will say. And they're right. But how soon we forget our history. It was also impossible for 13 tiny, fragmented colonies to come together and beat the greatest empire in the world. Just like it was impossible for that new fledgling nation to do it again 30 some odd years later. The impossible has been done in the past, and it can be done again. So, back to our question though, how? The very first thing to remember is that this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is not a rally here, a rally there, and sit down and wait for the results. Wars of ideas and philosophies can take decades or even generations to accomplish. I can promise you that this will be a long uphill struggle. However, by the grace of God, we will conquer.